Hello, everybody. This is Nicholas Tanek of your Kinky Friends, and oh my God, I have a wonderful guest with me tonight. We're gonna talk about hypno. We're gonna talk about medical massage therapy. We're gonna go and learn a lot and talk about the balance between being sadistic and loving. Look, this is not gonna be an episode where we don't talk about being sadistic and impact play and all that good stuff. So, everybody, please bow down with every ounce of respect that you have and worship the magnificent Mistress, Kaya Anais. Say hi.
Hello. I'm happy to be on your show, Nicholas.
Thank you very much for having me. So, all right, wait. Like I said, I want to get to the name first. Kaya, beautiful name. Anais, though, and we talked before about this, um, is inspired by Anais Nin, who's the writer, and she's known for doing erotic, um, you know, writing, and it's back in a day when that was very much shunned and almost illegal in certain parts of the world. Well, probably still is banned and illegal. But her and Henry Miller and stuff like that. So, what inspired you about Anais Nin to have that as your name?
Well, I was looking for so Kaya. I've always had I found that name many years ago, and it actually has its own special meaning to me. And I actually took it from my love of Bob Marley and
Love
gone
Bob.
so and it comes from the song "Got to Have Kaya Now." So it actually has a framework for me that was really special. And I wanted a name that also had meaning to me and that I could identify with. I think that a name says a lot about you. And so when I was on the search for my last name, um, I just did a lot of research, and I like Anise Nin, and she's been in my history, and I kind of was just going through things, and Anais just sounded so right to me, and I've always felt a connection to her in the sense that she was just always a little bit, she did her own thing, her own way, and sexually she was on another level. Like she went the direction that she wanted and nobody stood in her way, and she did it in a way that wasn't hurtful. Like she wasn't trying to hurt him. She was just going to have her life too. And she lived her life, and the way that she wrote really touched me. Um, and so I decided that I wanted to bring her into this space with me. I wanted to be able to call on her and take some of that energy that she moved with and add that to my own.
Definitely. And she's also was like in real life, she's like very humble as well.
Yes.
Married. So the questions came in before I even start my questions. First, Sophia Fernandez asks, "What is the longest and most brutal flogging session you have ever done?"
So,
Right to the choice. Didn't even do an intro, which is fine. Thank you, Sophia.
thank you. And that question, I have only been doing this for a few years now. I'm actually got a little later start in life. And my longest flogging session has been about 35 minutes. So I haven't done a really long, brutal flogging
A lot of
session.
exercise on the wrists and hands.
Yeah,
Too.
I, I, I haven't done a whole lot of flogging sessions.
There's
Um,
another one. Manu says medical play. You as a doctor. And then, oh yeah, this guy loves this. Will you drive a car on over your slave's hand?
oh, these are going to be fun. I can see. So, will
Haven't
I
even
drive a
started
car
yet.
over a slave's hand?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I guess if it's like slow.
I mean, I think internally, if that was in a consensual space, my answer is probably yes. Really slow though. But I would also, before I did something like that, I would need to research that a little bit, because the problem with something like that is, then what if I need my slave to be able to do something? He's not going to have a hand for a really long time, if
Okay.
ever it works again. So I I would have to look into that, talk to a doctor. But if it was something that I could do that eventually he would recover from, and it was consensual, I'd play there. I'd do
Maybe
some weird stuff.
maybe practice with a bicycle,
There you go.
like a 10 speed, like a very light Cannondale or something.
Maybe a moped at least. I like the weight.
Okay, that's good. And then AK-47 Mistress, capital MAK-47. Do you have any experience with SPH, which is small penis humiliation and sissification, and do you love it?
Yes. So I do have a sissy, and so I do like to play in sissification, and small penis humiliation is also quite fun, little mushroom tops and such. So it does have its own little special place. It just so cute and useless.
Yeah, I gotta swallow
Not even really that cute. I got to be honest. It's yeah. I wouldn't say cute.
little mushroom drops. All right, so you are. Um, oh, here we go again. I didn't even get to begin yet, which is fine. Manouj Manu, feet worship or feet gagging? Do you your top favorite on anyone? Do you prefer the feet being worshipped or gagging people with your feet?
That's a mood.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a preference of what I prefer, because to say I would prefer one or the other would mean that I like one more than the other. And I happen to enjoy both quite a bit. So it's kind of whether or not I'm in the mood to have my feet worshipped, or to shove my dirty foot down your throat and watch you gag on it. So that's a
Okay.
mood.
So now, is it mainly dirty feet or clean feet?
Well, I just looked down at my foot right now, and that's why I have had sandals on, so my feet are a little more in the dirty. So that also depends on whether or not I just got out of a pedicure chair, or so if it happens right after a pedicure, they're going to be really clean.
Okay. And then Sophia asked another question. Have you practiced suspension? What have you done to a person while they are suspended? And first of all, have you practiced suspension?
I have not done suspension yet,
Okay.
though. I apprentice with Mistress Tara, Indiana, and I know that she's going to be wanting to put some suspension in the dungeon, and I'm hopefully going to start getting trained on that pretty soon, because I'm really interested in it.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask some questions, but please feel free, everybody. Feel free to ask more. I will try to answer everything. So you are a professional dominatrix. Some I like to call Jacqueline of all trades, which means they're open to almost anything. Not I don't mean almost like anything like extreme or whatever, but like they'll try this and they'll try that, and or they like to be good in kind of a little bit of everything. But then some specialize in diapers, some specialize in leather play, some specialize in rope. Do you have any specialties? I know you do.
Well, I think I mentioned earlier, I've only been doing this for a few years, though I've been throughout my life, I've kind of always had some type of a dominant space. I just have a natural love of control. Um, but actually turning my attention towards pro dom and this lifestyle, my search probably started about 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm fairly new in this. Um, However, what I found is two things. One, I would say I specialize in CBT, because I just feel like I always tend to come back to that. Like there's a whole body and I really enjoy spankings, but I just really like spending a lot of time doing things like whipping cocks. And the first thing I ever did actually was CBT. So, and I just get really excited around it. Spanking, I really love, especially over the knee. Like there's something really fun about just having someone over my knee, and there's a whole experience. It's a very intimate experience in its own way. But yeah, I would definitely say CBT and um, hypnosis. I actually also went into training to become a master hypnotist because I wanted to incorporate it as a dominatrix. So that was pretty early on in my thought process, that I wanted that. So hypnosis and CBT would be my specialty.
Okay, we'll get to the hypnosis, but I know people love the CBT, so let's get that. Um, what is the most brutal thing that you've done CBT wise?
Mm, so let's see. I don't know because I compare what I think of as brutal to what some of the ladies that I see do that are brutal, like nailing cocks to boards, and oh, that's in my future. It just, I, I do not like dick pictures unless they are nailed to a board. Then they're great. Um, so whipping cocks, I think the longest I've ever whipped a cock was about 90 minutes. I whipped his cock for. Um, and stomping them till they bleed, till they're bloody. I don't necessarily consider that as brutal as some of the other things that I've seen. I just really enjoy, watching that little worm squashed. But
There's
so
a there's a French film called Mistress, and it has Gerard Depardieu in it. And it's really like an art film. It's about a thief who breaks into a house, and it turns out that the house is owned by a mistress or a matrice in French, and he falls in love with her, and he doesn't become her submissive. But he helps her out and everything like that. And there is a scene where they literally in like it happened for real in the movie. It wasn't a stunt. It wasn't a fake. Where they nail a cock to a board. And this is a movie that was like themed in like major theaters all around the world.
I'm definitely putting that on my watch list because I have not yet seen that one.
Yeah, Matrice with Gerard Depardieu. Um, okay, what is the? All right, so what was your very first session like?
Well, let's see. My very first session was actually came to me. I can't remember how I done it. Oh, that's right. Um, the very first session I ever had was a gentleman who emailed me and said, "So I'm looking for someone who will do sounding on me." And at the time, I didn't know what sounding was at all. So I asked, and he said, "I want you to stick a rod down my urethral." So I'm like, I am so in. I got goosebumps, and I was like, so I set up the date, and of course, I like to review. Even then, I wanted to know who someone was. So I made sure who they were, and then I actually went to their house, and he had all the devices set up for me. And I won't ever forget the way it felt when I picked that beautiful steel bar up, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I'm just literally looking at his clock, and I'm looking, and I asked him, you really want me to do this, right? You are 100% giving me permission. Okay. And I just started to slowly put it in. And I think that for me was the moment I knew that I just had to do this for the rest of my life. Like, I loved it. I loved the response that he had. Like, I could just feel the connection of my movements to his responses. And I really enjoyed it. I think that's probably why CBT is my first love. And yeah, so for me, what it was like was really euphoric and gave me the sense that this was the next stage of my life.
Talk about CBT and SPH. AK-47 says, Mistress, I have an average 3.8-inch dick. Now, is that hard or soft? And even my girlfriend says it's a good size, but why do I feel humiliated on small dick jokes anyway?
Well, answering that is actually just giving him what he wants, because he really just wants to be humiliated because he has such a small penis.
Okay, so
that is why you feel that way when you hear those jokes.
all right, so what is, you're also known as the Dom of Massage. Please explain.
That nickname was actually given to me before I became a dominatrix.
Okay.
So, the second stage of my life, I became a medical massage therapist. And
that was my next question.
I use medical because the difference between a medical massage therapist is that I worked in a medical center. I worked with chiropractors, I worked with medical doctors, rehabilitation. So it was in a medical setting. And in that setting, I dealt with a lot of people who had very serious, debilitating issues. And I came to be known as a body mechanic more than a massage therapist, because I kind of read bodies like Braille. So I can feel your body, and I can feel what's happening in your body. And I learned a technique that requires you to be very slow and very precise. It's very much like Rolfing in the level of pain that somebody is in. And every time it starts to hurt, we go out. It's very low, it's very slow and very intense. It might take me, 5 minutes to get from your wrist to your elbow. So this type of work has a tendency to be excruciating. And my patients, I would say interesting things like, it's okay, you can cry. This is your space right now. It's your party. And I would laugh a lot while it was very painful.
Yeah.
And they would make jokes like, I'm going to bring in an electric cord, and I'm going to tie it to you so that every time you laugh and you hit that spot, it goes off on you. So that, just because I get so much enjoyment, because when it starts to hurt, I know we're getting there. We're almost there. And as soon as we get through this, it's going to be good. So we're going to breathe. So they just came to call me the Dama massage, because I would just make them push through. And
keep in mind, everybody, this is consensual. All this stuff.
Exactly. They came back many times, and I took people who were, I saw cases, I think one of the most severe cases was a woman who couldn't get acupuncture needles in her neck. They would break. So the level of trauma stored in her body was tremendous. And it took us about a year before we got through it. But about 6 or 7 months in, she was finally doing acupuncture again. And that's huge. That so the level of trauma I was dealing with was extreme. And these are people who were anything to make it better. So I worked within their level of pain, but I pushed them in ways that I knew they needed, and I pushed them to take care of themselves. And so if you're not going to foam roll when you come in, that means I'm going to use my forearms like a foam roller, and it's not going to be fun. So I'm not going to have sympathy for you when you didn't do what I told you to do for the last 7 days. So on my table. So the and the banter of it, just it got to the point where I became the dom of massage, and they would come to me because they knew I was going to do what needed to be done to their body. And eventually they started to foam roll, and they started to do the things they needed because they realized the connection.
Okay, so let's talk about you know wearing something versus not wearing something. Spanking. Do you wear gloves or do you prefer the bare hand?
Um, I like gloves, but at some point I'll take them off. I do prefer the bare hand at the end of the
Mm,
day because, like I said, it's intimate, you know? It's intimate in that it's very close and personal, and I like to feel the welts. I like to feel the bumps. I like to really I'm very tactile. That's the massage therapist in me.
definitely.
So bare hand at the end, but I think gloves are fun because my hand's gonna last longer.
Hmm. Now, Manoj asks, back to wearing or being or the skin on skin when it comes to trampling. Now, you mentioned trampling with cock and ball torture. Do you use bare feet or heels?
So I like both. I like heels because I one of my earliest fetish. I think maybe my first, actually, yes, my first fetish is high heels. Anything with the stiletto, I'm down. So I really and I enjoy watching as that heel digs in. But I also like my bare feet because tactile. So, but the heel does more damage, and I like blood.
So, okay, let's talk about hypnosis.
Okay.
I've interviewed a bunch of hypnosis people, and it seems like everyone's got their own style. Some are very, very sensual. Some are very, very dark. Some are very like helpful in the sense that they help people actually in a BDSM way, but they help people like quit smoking or drinking or stuff like that as well, or manage their finances and stuff like that. Like, what would you say? How would you describe your style?
It's a good question. So I think as time goes on, styles uh, adjust. Currently, but I think the nature of your style doesn't. So my personality is um, caring and healing. So I have a healer's heart. Um, but I think that my style is to make you feel safe, to bring you into a space where you feel warm, comfortable, and safe. And then once you are in that warm, comfortable, safe space, that you know everything that happens here is is a healthy way, then I'll take you into another space where I can play however I want, and that can be wicked and dark. That can be I can bring pain into that space because you always know that I'm going to keep you safe. So I think I moved from a caring space, and that my hypnosis shows that. I think people who come to me also tend to want that. They're looking for someone who has a nurturing um, personality.
Definitely. Okay, so you also write. Oh, wait, before we get to that question, how would you say hypnosis has helped your clients?
How would it have helped my clients? Um, that's individually different
Of course.
for each. However, the running theme is that they are calmer, moving through their life is easier, and they're able to let things go. Having engaged me generally makes for a better week.
Okay. And okay, when you were talking about sadism, and I noticed you talk about and write about maintaining a balance between being a sadistic dom and a loving dom. How do you maintain that balance? And do you gear, in general, do you gear towards one side or the other? Even though you try to maintain the balance, do you tend to lean to one side a little bit more than the other?
Well, I think that goes back to my massage. So, maintaining the balance of keeping someone on the edge of what their body can tolerate without making your body clench, but so keeping you relaxed, where the work I do is effective, but at the same time, you really have to work. You really have to breathe. You really have to stay present with me while that's happening. So my massages were never something where people sleep through it. It's a conversation. It's a, what are you feeling right now? How is that affecting you? So that same nature is applied under a different pretense, right? So let's just take whipping for an example. I'm still sitting there, I'm enjoying, I'm laughing, but I'm also touching you. I'm feeling your body and how tense it is. I'm checking in with you and how are you responding to me? What are your eyes telling me? Your verbal cues are important, but your physical cues, the way your body responds, gives me a lot more understanding of when I need to back up, when I can go deeper and push farther, or do I need to bring you in off the ledge?
Okay, so let's talk about impact play. Now, with impact play, there's floggers, there's paddles, there's canes, there's whips, there's riding crops, like you name it. There's just bare hands, and or gloved hands. My dom has a ruler that she has from grade school, which is made of wood, and it hurts like crazy. So they're all great. I love them all. Love them all. Do you have a favorite?
So I prefer, and this also may be a little holdover from childhood. Um, so things I like: switches, um, paddles, especially wooden ones, hairbrushes, wooden,
Oh, yeah.
um, my hand. Not floggers as much. Also, probably because I have a torn rotator from being a massage therapist. So I don't, I do this a little bit, but if I do it too long, that's problematic for me. So I think that's one of the reasons I don't do floggers as much. Um, so single tail, I really enjoy the fact that, practicing hitting the same mark over and over and just clicking off little, what are those things that we used to use for laundry, but now I use them on men? um, being able to, so I like single tails a lot, but yeah, I think my favorites are in the wooden paddles and the just paddle department.
Yeah, I love the sound because it's like it's a thwack. You know
Yes.
what I mean, well, canes are awesome. Don't get me wrong.
I
Canes are
forgot, yes, canes.
and switches are awesome, and because it has that like, but the paddles have this like cartoon like sound. It's like it's thwack. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
TWHACK.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm really looking forward to getting more into is canes. Um, Switches are old school for me. That was what was used on me as a kid, and I'll never forget the experiences of those. So I think for me, it's a little bit of um, that connection.
Yeah,
So those I like a lot, but I think that's my connection also to canes is they're easy to use. They're not hard on me, but it's the mark that it leaves.
definitely.
And so again, it gets back to the marks that I like to leave. And then the paddles, I like the sound, and also there's a different type of movement that your body makes when it's hit with something heavy and hard, right? Your whole body just kind of shifts a little bit with it, and the impact
Definitely.
is felt throughout the
Yeah,
whole.
it like sends this kind of wave throughout your body. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now you said you have a sissy, correct? You said you have a sissy.
Yeah, I do.
Now, do they? It seems like with sissies, correct me if I'm wrong, or add anything that you want, but it seems like there's a spectrum. There's the proper sissy, the French maid, very well done, and very proper, and then there's the sluts, the ones that want to be turned into sluts. Do you have? Is your current sissy a slutty sissy or a proper sissy?
Interestingly enough, I was just talking with Mistress Tara about this the other night. Kind of in the middle. So
Okay.
kind of wants to be, kind of wants to have that experience of being dressed up and talking about, what it's like to be a girl and talking about TV shows or movies or, little silly things with a cup of tea. And then also wants that other end of the spectrum of being just treated like a complete and total slut and used, which I'm a fan of.
Now, it doesn't always go hand in hand, but it does with a lot of sissies. Chastity involved. Do you ever keep them locked up in chastity?
This one, not, no, this one is not full time in sissy mode, so I cannot do that with this one. But I do very much love chastity.
Okay.
That's that's
Now,
a very.
do you prefer plastic, silicone, or metal?
I think the one that I would prefer would be the silicone because it's more moldy and not as. But I like the look of the metal. If you're going to go really long term, I think that you can get some really nice quality. I think Steelworks has
Yeah,
some
that
good stuff.
mature
Yeah,
metal is good too. I have a custom made chastity device that's
nice.
metal. Highly suggest. I mean, practice on the more inexpensive ones, but if you're going to like really try it hardcore, it's best to get a custom made one. Spend the extra money,
Yeah.
because it's just more comfortable and usable and stuff like that. Um, and your bits don't sneak out. Um, okay, so we got some questions from Erin. Um, have you ever been dominant with someone who had either a mental or physical disability?
I do. I have an older gentleman. So I do. Um, and so with a disability, I think it's important to acknowledge it. Uh, I like to do it a little bit more in a fun, playful way. Oh, so you're missing half your foot. Well, I guess that's going to be hard, but you're going to do it anyway, or, so you can't get up out of that chair, but that just makes it better, right? So to me, someone who's willing to come to me with a disability, I like to embrace that, and I find it even more. I enjoy that even a little bit more, if you will.
Okay. And also, she asks, did you ever have to cut off someone 100% and why?
Yes. And the reason to have to cut someone off 100% is you're not listening. You're not doing what I've asked. You're not meeting your deadlines. You're not sending the tributes that you said you were going to send when they're being sent. So yes, it's not as often, but I have had to do it.
Okay. And interesting. Okay. So the next couple of questions, they don't have to be kink related. Okay. Um, so if you could live in any time period from the beginning of time till right now, um, where would when would you live and where would it be?
Um, so that one's a little tougher for me because as a Black woman, history's not always been so kind, and so I actually had
The present day is not always that kind.
I had to think about that for a little while, and I thought, like the 20s would be fun, but then I had to go like 15 years in the future, and it was like, ooh, that got bad. So, so then I kept going, and I really like the 60s in France, the revolution in
Yeah.
America, watching it, that was a really interesting time period, but I would have rather been in France. But actually, I have to say, um, that right now is probably the best time for me.
Okay.
There's a lot of freedom in the world. Um, I can go wherever I want and do what I want. And uh, each time and period, when I look back, I can see how there's some really amazing aspects to it, but then there's also some really harsh ones. And I know that some point in the future, someone's going to be like, you know what? It was good to be 2020. So I actually think I'll just stay with the here and now. It's the best.
That's good. Perfectly fair question. Okay. Um, all right. Rapid fire recommendations. Okay. Rapid fire recommendations, and they don't have to be kink related. Okay. Recommend a film.
So I'm going to go with Sick, The Life and Death of Bob Flanagan.
We just talked about that last night, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, the other one, but I haven't seen this one yet. I was talking to Mistress Tara, and I meant to watch it last night. And I didn't get the chance, but Closet Land, because
Oh,
she
I
said
haven't
that
seen
was
that.
really great movie, really great. You can see it on YouTube. Um, so, but yeah, Sick, The Life and Death of Bob Flanagan. I think that is like a must see, especially if you have sadistic, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Masochistic.
masochistic tendencies.
And on top of that, what's really what strike me as something very unique about that documentary. I mean, it wasn't just the brutality of what people do to his body, but his partner. Like it's a true love story. Like it
Yeah.
really is, and that is beautiful. And unfortunately, he passed away. Basically, for those who don't know, Bob Flanagan was a straight up masochist and artist and author and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And he was in Nine Inch Nails videos, and he did a lot of. But he was also very very sick, and he had chronic pain. But so he instead of letting that you know I guess stop, he kind of empowered himself by it and got turned on by it and met this woman who and they became partners who was very sadistic towards him and he loved it and they loved each other very very much. I highly recommend that movie too. Yeah, and we were just talking about it yesterday too. We were just talking about it yesterday. um, All right. Now keep in mind when I say recommend, these are just recommendations. These are not your all time. They don't have to be your all time favorite or a representation of you. This is just like, oh, this is good. You should check this out. So, first of all, you were talking about Bob Marley. A fan of mine just sent me a vinyl version, first edition of Bob Marley's Talking Blues on vinyl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He talks in between each song and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I don't want to like ruin the record, so I barely play it. But like,
That's
well,
pretty awesome.
I just got it. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. I love Bob Marley, and there's so much more than just that Legend compilation. Even though that's great, but
Hmm.
there's so much more than that.
Hmm.
So,
There
talk,
is, yeah.
talking about music, recommend a song.
Mm. I had a whole list of things. And
You can name a couple.
song. Now you just, ooh, let me see. So, if I was to recommend one, so the first song that popped into my head was The Doors' 5 to 1.
Oh, definitely.
I just, it's the first one that popped in my head. Another really good song, just because it just came back on my radar, which I hadn't listened to, is Sound of Silence, but by Disturbed.
Is that a Simon and Garfunkel cover?
Yeah,
Interesting. I haven't heard that version.
yeah. Check that version out and let me know what you think of it.
I
Like
will.
it's amazing. I didn't know that he was a trained opera singer.
All right.
Yeah,
Um,
so it's amazing.
recommend a book.
So, the book that made a really big difference for me, and actually was what took me from the leap of thinking I was too nice to be a dominatrix to I want to do this, was Enough to Make You Blush by Princess Collie.
Interesting. I never read that. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, that is a really it's about humiliation. And that was the thing. I actually didn't have any problems like with the hitting or the sounding, all those things I was good with. It was, I wanted to understand the psychology of humiliation and what that does to someone. And am I going to, what's the psychological damage that I could be doing to someone by some of the things that I say? And when I finished that book, I realized that all bets are off. It's consensual, and you have, there's some things you got to check with, but once you do that, you can really just enjoy and play, and that's what makes BDSM so amazing, is that you can really explore.
Okay. Recommend a television show. And that includes streaming.
Well, there you go. Here's my plug. So, I just finished a television documentary on sex life with Tara Indiana called Women on Top. So it's the episode, season 5. I think it's the third episode, but it's called Women on Top. So Sex Life, Women on Top is my television show. And then also, I'm going to give a second one, Kings of Harlem.
Ooh. Wait, is that with Forrest Whitaker?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I started watching. I just started watching that. So don't tell me anything. Okay. Recommend a meal.
Hmm. So I'm going to go with something that people could easily do. Recommend a meal. Ooh. I'm gonna just go with something simple that I love, which is a salmon chickpea salad.
Oh, I had salmon for dinner tonight.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I put it in the air fryer. Yeah, I put it in the air
love
fryer. And
air
I
fryer.
don't over season it. That's the key. Don't over season. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you put some lemon, some pepper, a little. Sometimes just a touch of Old Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some turmeric, and then I had it with asparagus and quinoa. But
Yes.
yeah, so yeah, okay. All right, the 3 word. This is the final question. This is a 3 word game. Now, one
Okay.
of them has to be kink related. The other can be, or they don't have to be. So, first thing is pick any letter from A to Z. Okay, just have it in your head. You can always change it before you answer. All right, so pick a letter from A to Z. Now, choose 3 things you love, and they all have to start with the same letter. Okay, and there's 3 words or phrases of something that you love. One of them has to be kink related. The other 2 can be, but they don't have to be. Right, but
Okay.
they also start with the same letter. Go.
So CBT, chocolate, and cooking.
Ooh, I started. Yeah, chocolate chip cookies and vanilla cookie. I love vanilla cookies and stuff like that.
Homemade though. They have to be homemade.
Yes, they gotta be like
I'm,
out of the oven, just
yeah,
a little, a
yeah.
touch, not too hot, but just hot enough that they can like
Ex-
really like kind of melt. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm a big cook. I just finished making a German chocolate cake the other day from scratch.
Yeah.
Like I don't play. Ingredients, everything.
I'm a major foodie now. Like we were talking offline, um, I can't I can't drink or do anything else. So because of health issues, so I'm just going crazy with food, and
Hmm.
I'm pretty much a vegetarian except for fish,
Mm.
and but like I'm just tons of. I never knew I liked kale so much or asparagus. Or like if it's seasoned right and cooked right and stuff, and so I'm cooking all my own dishes because all of the restaurants are just filled with salt. And oh, you know what? Then we're gonna have a dominatrix cooking show.
Woo,
I would
fun.
love, I would love for you to be a part of that. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Um, all right, that was a great. We got a king question. Sophia asked, Mistress, have you had a bloody experience, and what kind of practice have you made your slave bleed? She has, just so you know, Sophia. Do rewind. She's talked about this.
I
Make
I
penises.
have a little one for him. This is how I found out I enjoy blood because I actually didn't realize that I enjoyed blood. So I, ta- my intro was through Mistress Tara, Indiana, and she has classes called for the art of female domination. So she does a fire play class, and it's a blood play fire play class. And so we were doing cupping, which was right. I mean, it just that's right up my. Like I was loving it. And then as we were cupping, I was scratching, and so then I was watching little pockets of blood pool up into the cups, and I'm spreading it around. And that was where I found my love of blood play. Is right there. That was the moment that I knew. Okay, we've
Now,
just celebrated.
how do you keep blood play hygienic and safe?
So you would put something on the ground, like plastic, and you would use gloves, and also anybody involved needs to be tested so that everything is safe, and you would be in a sterile space. I wouldn't just do it with anyone. I would do it only under a safe space. And for me, I generally always chat with Mistress Tara when I'm going to do something that might be a little bit outside of my wheelhouse so that I can be safe, because I really like I really like the understanding that I can do about anything, but it was my first experience that also taught me I needed to find a mentor. I needed to learn from someone who's been in this industry 30 plus years. I wanted to find someone who understood the relationship between a dominant and a submissive, how to walk that line, and how to care and not lose yourself and maintain my seat, um, while also being able to be there and not harm someone. I'm happy to hurt you, but harm, that is something that goes against my ethical belief as a woman, as a dominatrix, as a healer. So yeah, that's how.
Harming someone goes against what? My nature?
Yeah, it goes against my nature. It goes against, being a woman, being a dominatrix, being a healer. It's just counter. And plus, if I'm harming you, you're useless to me, which goes back to running a car over your hand. While the idea of it might sound tantalizing, just the idea, I think it's more the idea of, okay, so you're going to let me do this, right? Like you really want me to do this. Okay. Well, let's see if you can handle it.
Now, remember, everybody, practice with a bicycle, then move up to moped, and then go up to
Exactly.
car.
Start with the bicycle and
Yeah,
maybe don't move past the moped, because I'm pretty sure that's about all that's going to be ethical,
definitely.
if that.
Um, okay, and as a black woman, do you ever use that in your play or your sessions? Do you ever use race as part of it?
I think it comes through naturally for me. I don't know that um, I don't know that I overtly bring it in. If I know that there's a dynamic of that, it just kind of comes up for me, I will. But yeah, I think there's just a natural space that does, just by the
Yeah,
way that I talk.
that's awesome. That's cool. Okay, so we've reached the end. We have. I mean, I'd love for you to do a part two and a part three and some panel episodes. We could do a cooking episode. We could have a lot of fun. We could do. Oh, I'm working on getting together a CBT panel episode, which I'd love for you to be a part of because maybe you and Miss Fawn.
That would be
So,
amazing.
yeah, and the panels are fun because there's multiple people on there, and there's sometimes like I ask the questions, and then the people on the panel just start talking with each other, and I can just sit back and listen and watch, and a lot of times they become friends. They talk outside,
Nice. That'd be
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, please stay on the line after we're done, but take this time to promote everything and anything you want to promote, whether it's kink related or not. I'm talking your website, any events, any friends, any dungeons, and any projects you're working on. Go.
Okay, so let's see. I'll start with where you can find me the easiest, which is my website, kayaanais.com. Uh, you'll find all of everything there, hypnosis, anything you want to know about me, including how to reach me. I have a Twitter, again, Kaya Anais, Instagram, Kaya Anais. Uh, you will most you will find me coming up this next week in LA, the 26th through the 31st. I also traveled down into San Diego. I traveled to San Diego when there, uh,
Great
and
stuff.
I live in Humboldt. So anybody from Humboldt, reach out if you're interested in seeing me there. And DomCon's coming up. So
Yes.
I was going to see if you were going to be there, but I am planning on being in LA for DomCon. So
Miss Charmness did a live from Domcom episode with me, which is great. I'm gonna try to make it. That I don't know. It's a scheduling thing and all this crazy stuff that's going on. But I absolutely want to like go there. And
Nice.
I'll make it. I know I'll make it one of these days.
I
Uh,
was trying to figure out where I saw you because it's been scratching my head. But I was at the virtual Dom Con, and I'm pretty sure I sat in. I think that's where I
then yeah,
remember you from.
we were doing a fucking show. Yeah, the show got pretty popular. Okay, so everybody can reach out to me at yourkinkyfriends.com. I'm on Twitter at Nicholas Tanek. The whole crew is at Friends Kinky on Twitter and at Friends Kinky on Instagram. Your Kinky Friends is on FetLife. Your Kinky Friends, no spaces. I'm on Facebook, and there's a YKF chat group. On Facebook, it's secret. No one will know you're in it, and it just says YKF, and it's for just you know, yeah, no one will know you're in it. We have a Patreon page. We're gonna have a lot of special episodes that so you pay a little money and you get episodes you can't get anywhere else. You can't get on YouTube and stuff like that, or through the Your Kinky Friends. We have a Discord chat group, which I got to update the invite. If you can't get in, if because I'm crazy busy, but if I don't update the website with it, which I probably will today or tomorrow, just send me a quick PM on Twitter, FetLife, or Facebook, and I'll send you a brand new invite. Um, yeah, and it's getting late, my friends. My Dom is calling me. Remember the cardinal rule: be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for having me.